Hey guys, it is Tanya. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another speed build. Today I am sharing an autumnal themed A-frame home. I was really in the mood to build something in this style, like something modern but also autumnal, because when I build things in the autumn, I tend to go for more like cottagey vibes. So I wanted to try and combine those ideas. And so I ended up with this A-frame. I built this over on Twitch first, so you might recognize it if you follow me over there. But oh my goodness, do I love how this build came out. It ends up being a very interesting shape because it's based off of this initial A-frame design, which is on a diagonal, and then I have other parts of the build that kind of jut off of that. So it has a really interesting layout, and it was a lot of fun to do, especially the inside, which is very like open concept, sort of like parts of it are. You'll see when we get to the inside, but I did some things in here that I haven't done in other builds in the past. It was so much fun to experiment and figure out how I wanted this build to come out, especially because building on diagonals is very difficult and frustrating. And so we have a couple of parts of the build that aren't on a diagonal, but most of it is, and it was so much fun. It's a little difficult though because the sizing on diagonals is very different. And what I mean by that is like a 1x1 square on a diagonal is a lot bigger than a normal 1x1 square. So it makes the spaces bigger, but also things don't snap properly when it comes to like sectionals or counters. And there's also, with counters in particular, some very fun, not fun at all, shadows that appear on counters. So I really wanted to make sure that the kitchen space was not on a diagonal. So you'll see that when we get inside. But right now I am deciding to go for more of an asymmetrical look here, where there's only one story on the left side, but there are two on the right. And then we are making a little bit of a skylight over here as well for a little bit more of visual interest on the exterior of the build. And honestly, I love how this came out. It's just such a unique build. I really like doing things that are experimental like this, where I don't really know what I'm going for. I just start building and I figure it out as I go, because this is such a strange shaped build that I probably never would have come up with ahead of time without experimenting with what we're building. I just think it's so much fun to go in with a vague idea and see what happens. But as you can see here, I put some big modern windows throughout the build, as well as some of the ones from the Moschino pack, which are some of my favorite windows in the game. So I was definitely going for a more modern vibe for this place, but the colors are still very like autumnal and kind of cottagey. But overall, I still think this is a pretty modern build, especially with the windows and the floor plan you'll see when we get inside, which I think we'll be working on shortly. We just have a little bit of landscaping outside to do. I don't think I went too overboard with landscaping this time, although I am, of course, using Show Live Edit objects because they're the best items. And we are in the autumn, so all of the plants that I'm placing down are colored according to that season. And these debug fence pieces I thought looked so nice on that porch. They fit perfectly. And yeah, just trying to figure out what plants would work well on this lot. I use mostly stuff from Get Together because we are building in the world of Windenburg, so I wanted the plants to match the environment, but I use a couple that are not, and just framing out this porch with some greenery. I think it comes out pretty cute in the end. And actually we're going to have a separate porch area outside, like a raised deck space, which I should be adding right after I paint this stuff, I'm pretty sure, which is going to be for a pool, which I think came out really cool. I feel like I don't normally do pools the way I did this, where it's not like behind the house. We have sort of a side yard, and it's quite interesting. You'll see it when we place it down. And I am building this in the autumn, so like I'm not sure how much use you're gonna get out of a pool this time of year, but people don't get rid of their pools. They're built-in pools in other seasons. They would just cover them up and not use them. So I thought it was still realistic to have that space here, and we're starting to build it now. It's on a raised foundation. I almost said platform, but unfortunately you can't build pools in platforms. I wonder if they'll ever change that, because it's a bit frustrating, and it would look so nice to create steps with platforms up to a pool or into a pool. I would love that. But unfortunately that's not an option right now. So we have a foundation over here that's just leading you up to a pool. I think it came out pretty cute. We're going to be adding some columns here and drawing some half walls over the top, and just kind of having a little bit of a roof space up here as decoration. And I end up hanging some lights on there from toddler stuff. And yes, I've made the space smaller to be the correct size for the toddler lights. And then I ended up adding some of those to the front porch as well. And also I used the water in the pool that came with the update when we got like terrain manipulation where we could add ponds. That looks like there's a bunch of leaves in there because it's autumn. And I was like, oh, the leaves fell into the pool. I just thought that seemed like a cute idea. So I added those in there. And just working on the terrain paint, I used some of these rocks. I think those ones are from Get Together as well. And placing some more plants down, trying to make it look quite lush. Oh, and I used this piece of, what I guess it would be called ruins over here to frame the side of the pool area. I just thought it looked really cool. And there's a lot of pieces of that throughout this world. So I thought it looked quite nice. I also have a wheelbarrow that fell over. Definitely going through some of the items that came with Debug with Cottage Living. They really fit the vibe for this build. And getting some more plants. We have like a non-usable bike by the front of the build. Getting some sunflowers. And I think we're going to be adding the pond. Yeah, so I added a little bit of a pond on this lot. There was space for it over here. So I thought that would be nice. So we're just grabbing that now. I think I end up using the same water in it that I use in the pool with the leaves in it. Yeah, there it is. I think that one's the best. And then we end up having a car out front as well. And now we're heading to the inside of this build because you have to go up a platform to, get to the house. I needed to make sure there was platforms to get back down on the inside. So I have like this diagonal platform staircase when you come in and it leads you down into the kitchen and dining space. So the kitchen is going to be lined against these two counters here, and then there's going to be dining near it, and then I'm separating off the rooms in here, and this is where it gets kind of interesting. So I thought it would be fun to have like a modern fireplace that could be viewed from multiple rooms, like splitting off the space here. So I'm just kind of planning that out with these windows from Snowy Escape and this table inside from, that is from City Living, and then I have the stairs wrapping around right here because they're on a diagonal. I did this, and it makes them fit so nicely. I feel like it's really difficult to place stairs in a diagonal home, but I think it worked out. Do let me know what you think, but this is how that ended up working out. And then we had some horrible lighting glitches inside where we had outdoor lighting, and it took a really long time to figure it out, but it worked out in the end. And upstairs, we end up having 2 bedrooms and I think just 1 bathroom upstairs. This only ends up being a 2-bedroom house, and I think also only 2 bathrooms. But there also ends up being like a playroom / school from home, homeschooling, that's the word I'm looking for, room, as well as an office. So there ends up being a lot of rooms in this house, which could be additional bedrooms if you prefer. But I only laid it out as a 2-bedroom house. But we're going to be starting on the kitchen here. I ended up using these countertops from Dream Home Decorator. I thought about using them in this green swatch, and I did and didn't in the end. And what I mean by that is the ones that are down now do not end up being that color, but we end up using that swatch for an island piece, which I think looks so nice in the end. I end up using the regular counters for it though, not the actual island ones, because I like the shape of them a little bit better. It was more of a appearance thing over functionality thing because there is going to be a giant dining table in this space. So it was totally fine if they could not sit at the island counters because I'd prefer they sit at the dining table anyway. But this is going to be the general layout. We're just playing with all of the color swatches now, and I end up going with this brown wood in the end. And I think the upper cabinets end up being white, potentially. But here I am making that island piece with the green, which I think looks so, so, so pretty. Yeah, here I am switching the cabinets as well. And the shelves, and I believe we're going to be doing a backsplash over here. Yeah, subway tiles. And I just think that pop of green in the island is so nice, and it's pretty realistic to have a different cabinet bottom as well as countertop in the island piece. So I thought that was a nice way to do that. Getting my cutting boards that I put in every build. We have some pots and pans hanging up and getting some other additional kitchen clutter, as well as these string lights from the holiday pack. I often forget we have those, but I think they looked really nicely. And they looked really nicely. They worked really nicely. And then I'm also using a light from that pack as well, the free holiday pack. And getting some pumpkins. I wanted this whole house to feel like autumn, but not overly autumn. It's not like in your face decorated for the season, but there's some pumpkins around and like general autumnal colors. I'll probably do another build closer to the end of the month that's just like Halloween. like a house fully decorated for Halloween. I'll probably do some spooky builds as well because those are always a lot of fun. But this one was meant to just be a modern A-frame decorated for autumn, sort of, and in those colors. I'm really selling this build, aren't I? I'm very good at explaining things. I'm really not. Anyway, just decorating the kitchen here, figuring out if I want to put a painting or something over here. I'm pretty sure, yeah, I ended up with this one with the feathers. And I think that's it for the shelves in that space. We're just going to be getting these stools around the island. Like I said, it's just purely for looks. Your Sims are probably not going to be able to sit on those at all. And then I got another plant for the island as well as some soap for right next to the sink. And that's pretty much it, I think, for the kitchen space. I will be adding a trash can later on. I forget about it for a while because there's not really a good spot to put it, but it ends up being right next to the fridge. But we're working on the dining space now. At first, I wanted to use this table from base game, but that quickly did not work. And I ended up using one from the fitness pack, which is a beautiful table. And I always want to use it, but it's so difficult to fit into builds, but I feel like it worked so nicely here. Look at this table. Isn't it stunning? And it matched to these base game chairs so beautifully. And just adding some fall leaves. I almost said greenery to the table. It used to be green. Now it's orange. But some fall leaves to the table. And then deciding to split off this space over here. So on one side of the fireplace in the open area, this is going to be the living space. And the other side of the fireplace is going to be like a playroom / homeschooling room. I'm thinking they probably put up a wall to separate the spaces so it's a little quieter in there, but it was probably originally like 2 different spaces. Maybe one of them was meant to be a dining space and one the living room. And that's kind of what I was thinking originally when I started this layout. But then we had enough space for a really big dining table right next to the kitchen, and I liked how that came out, so I didn't want to have a second one. So I decided that it would be more fun to have that space as something else, and kind of went back and forth between if that should be like a second bedroom or a study or what have you. And then my chat has suggested that we do a like homeschooling room, and I thought that was a lot of fun. But anyway, I just completely rambled over the living room. We're using a lot of purples and greens in here, which I think are so cozy and very autumn without being like too in your face. And this room just came out super cute. We end up having a keyboard in here as well as a globe bar, a couple of pumpkins. I am using the couches from Seasons, the chairs from Paranormal, and then this coffee table is from Courtyard Oasis. I also really wanted to have a piano in here, and I know we have a keyboard in the other room. The keyboard was the compromise. I was like, okay, we'll put a keyboard, but I'm going to still try and make this piano work. So originally the piano was going to be in the like homeschool space, and I was like, well, they could have piano lessons. And it really resonated with me because when I was growing up, I think it was my 2nd grade teacher. She had a giant piano in her classroom, and we would all sit around it, and like piano was played like every day in class. And so I was like, this makes sense to me. We'll keep this. But I ended up getting rid of it in the end as we added more things in here. We have the art tables. I ended up adding these science tables, which is what made me get rid of the piano in the end. There's even a class pet. I think I picked the hedgehog for this one. I always forget that they're completely separate items and not just different swatches to change which pet you have in them. So I always just grab one and then I'm like, oh, I didn't realize this is the one I grabbed. Does anyone else do that? But just painting some of the walls in here. We have the little desks, some different activities for your Sims to play with, a TV, some class projects, some toys, a Wabbit tablet, and some magazines. And then we are heading on into the downstairs bathroom, which there's 2 in this house, but this is the only one that I have on camera. Well, I recorded the other one, but I cut it out of the video because this was already such a long video. So I didn't feel like it was necessary because it's a little bit different, but it's still the same style, and you'll see it anyway. There'll be screenshots of that room. But yeah, that's the bathroom. And then this is going to be the office. It's just like a desk with a couple of chairs if you have people that you're meeting with. And I think it comes out really cute in the end. It ends up matching the colors of these chairs from Paranormal. And it's just a really cute work from home office. You probably do some business out of your home, and I really enjoyed it. But anyway, while the office is coming together, if you guys do like this build and you would like to download it, it will be available on the Sims 4 gallery. You can find it under my EA ID, which is Gryphi, Gryphi. You could also find it under the hashtag MissGryphi, and that information will also be in the description down below. And if you were curious, let me see, I have it written down how much this build costs. This build is a whopping 104,000 simoleons and change. So it's not the cheapest one, but it's a pretty spacious house. I think it's really nicely decorated, if I do say so myself. I was just really happy with how the interior came out. And there is a lot of potential for changing some of the rooms into additional bedrooms. So it could definitely be a bigger home. And there's a pool. So that's a plus. But anyway, this is the primary bedroom that I was thinking was for the parents. It's matching with this beautiful green swatch. I thought that this bed from City Living was so pretty. I really like the swatches. I really like how in this build and a autumn themed apartment I posted recently, they're supposed to be autumn vibes, but they're not like the first colors you think of when you think of autumn, because I feel like you think of orange and yellow, and I'm like purples and greens and trying to give off the vibe of autumn without being too autumn, if that makes sense. And I just think it comes out so cozy and I really like it. But in here, I'm just grabbing a dresser over here from Seasons and this chair in the corner from Nifty Knitting. And that's most of what's in here. Just adding a couple more decorations. There's some pampas grass and I believe a clock on the dresser. And I swapped out the mirror because the other one looked too small for the space. Did I add anything else on the dresser? I don't remember. I feel like I must have because that looks really empty. Oh, some more of these pumpkins. I put those everywhere. Those are the pumpkins that came with Seasons. We also now have pumpkin harvestables that came with Cottage Living, but the ones from Seasons are just so pretty. They're so perfect for decorations. But anyway, this is going to be the kids' bedroom. I decorated this as it were for 2 kids, so we actually have bunk beds in the space. And the colors in here are so fun. I did struggle a little bit on the layout because I didn't want to block the window, and I also needed to block out that piece of the chimney on the outside that's poking through the wall. But it ends up working out really nicely in the end. It's like very yellow and blue in here, which are colors that look so nicely together. We have some like kid clutter on the ground and some toys all around. And also another thing I cut out of this build is the upstairs hallway has like some stuff in it. You can kind of see it right now. There is the puppet station for the kids to play with and like a couch and stuff. So I do think these kids have a lot of activities to do. So I only have a few things in their room. We have like a couple of toys and a dollhouse. But I do think these kids are quite spoiled. Plus they have a bunch of things down in their classroom downstairs. So I think this would be a really fun family to play with. I've never had that before. And then I added the parenthood board out here because we hadn't added one in the build yet, and it's right outside of the classroom, and I felt like that worked nicely. Getting a stereo and like a poof underneath, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, and a rug. We ended up adding this one from City Living in this green because that green is so pretty. I've been so into green in interiors lately. But outside, I added a little fall-colored floaty in the pool. We should be getting another bike. This one's actually usable. And just a little log seat. And I think some sports equipment out here as well, yeah. And there's going to be some planters on the ground between the house and the pool area. And I'm pretty sure that's it. I'm pretty sure that's all we end up having here other than a trash can because I needed to make sure your Sims had one of those. That is it. We are coming to the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. That really does help me out. You can also subscribe to the channel if you have not already. I would love to have you join us. And if you click that bell, it'll turn on notifications so you'll be notified of every single time I upload a new video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all soon. Bye, everybody.